Hello and welcome. I am Thomas Porteous and you are watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. After meeting with European leaders, Zelensky moves to mend US-Ukraine ties, thanking Trump following a public clash in the Oval Office. France and the UK call for a one-month truce after the European summit. In the Middle East, Israel blocks humanitarian aid to Gaza as talks with Hamas stall. Phase 1 is extended amid mediators' outrage accusing Israel of blatantly violating the ceasefire agreement. Stars gather and shine on Hollywood's biggest night in Los Angeles as indie film Enora sweeps 5 Oscars. Adrian Brody also takes Best Actor for The Brutalist and Mikey Madison takes Best Actress win for Enora. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is set to meet King Charles III on Monday. He plans to address US President Donald Trump's controversial threats to annex Canada and make it the 51st state. Recently, Trudeau stated that defending Canada's sovereignty and independence is the most pressing issue for Canadians right now. King Charles, Canada's head of state, has faced mounting criticism for remaining silent on Trump's remarks, sparking renewed debate over the monarchy's role in the country. Former Alberta Premier Jason Kennedy said the King can only act on the advice of Canada's government and urged Trudeau to ask Charles to reaffirm Canada's sovereignty. This meeting comes as discussions grow around the future of the monarchy's relevance in Canada, where affection for the late Queen Elizabeth remains strong, but support for King Charles has been far more lukewarm. To discuss this, we are joined by Dr. Amjad Ayub Mirza, international affairs expert, joining us live from London. And we're also joined by Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, joining us from New Delhi. I wanted to come to you first, Dr. Amjad Ayub Mirza. What does this mean for Canadians? What does this meeting mean? Justin Trudeau has said that there is no chance of Canada being the 51st state. Why is Trudeau so worried about this happening?
Thank you very much, Thomas. First of all, I think that you cannot bully a nation into submission or annexation just by increasing the tariff rates. I think King Charles is still relevant in the Commonwealth. He is the head of state of Commonwealth countries, and the fact that an invitation was extended to Donald Trump by Keir Starmer during his visit to the Oval Office might be the reason for this, to discuss face-to-face with Donald Trump about his statements regarding Canada, to make it America's 51st state. So I think that the relevance of the monarchy is still important, especially in the Canadian context, since British military base, when it comes to that, Canada hosts the largest British military base. So there are very deep-rooted ties between Canada and Great Britain. Vis-a-vis monarchy and military assistance. So I think that this is going to be an important meeting, and let's see what comes up. I think that the King is not going to make a public statement regarding Trump's, this drama about annexing Canada. But some kind of statement will come to reassure the Canadian people that their sovereignty will be protected.
Gautam Mukherjee, thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you, how important is this meeting? Does the British King really have relevance and power to be in this political conversation? And should Canadians be worried as they clearly are, as Justin Trudeau has said?
Well, in a way, the fact that they're escalating the matter to King Charles gives it a lot more importance than perhaps Trump intended. Trump, I think, was trying to pressure Canada into stopping all sorts of incursions from the Canadian-US border, particularly drugs and people. And the tariffs are in context of that. I think he will impose the tariffs just to make clear that he means business, as he will also impose them on Mexico. He has already done so on China. Canada's talking of counter tariffs. Well, so be it. America sells a lot of goods to Canada and will take a hit on it, and Canada will likely take a hit on it. There is, common sense in the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state, because it's not viable on its own. It is subsidized and funded and propped up by the United States. Britain and Europe, as has been seen in the post-Zelensky meeting, are not in a position to pressurize the United States. When they are talking of giving money to Zelensky, they're talking of 2 billion and 1 billion. Now that means the whole of Western Europe might pony up some 20 billion. America gives 100 and something billion each shot, has paid anywhere, the figures are challenged, but anywhere between 180 and 350 billion over the last 3 years towards the Ukraine war. Europe is in no position. And King Charles, well, maybe he can make a statement, a polite statement on, to support Canada, but more importantly, Britain itself is in no position to pressurize anyone in America. So that is the situation. Last of all, Thomas, congratulations on the new channel.
Thank you.
I was very happy to be there for the inauguration, meeting you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mirza, I wanted to come back to you. How much political relevance does King Charles still have? We obviously have an invitation from the King to Donald Trump as well. Can we expect the King to sway Trump politically, or does he have no standing whatsoever in these modern times?
Well, I think Starmer's rating was going really down, and he is now trying to use this issue of Zelensky being thrown out of the White House and standing up and acting as a statesman, saying that we can have boots on ground as peacekeeping force and all that. So I think that Keir Starmer is using this opportunity to increase his national and international profile as a leader. However, I think that this invitation that was extended to Donald Trump was to calm him down, was to give him something to behave himself. That here we are, our king is inviting you, sir. So let the meeting run smoothly. Nothing was gained out of that meeting. Nothing was gained out of the meeting with the French Prime Minister. And the only thing that was gained out of the meeting with Zelensky is that Zelensky, who is a master of playing the victim card, has come out of the White House battered and bruised and come to Europe for help. And now we have this summit in Europe where everyone is pledging. And Trudeau has actually yesterday announced more sanctions on Russia. So I don't know where is this Trudeau's mindset coming from, but I disagree with the August guest, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, that Canada is not a viable state. Canada has been a viable state since the Paris Treaty in 1736, when the French handed over Canada to the British. And the only issue is how can Canada have a better government that can increase the manufacturing sector, that can increase its participation in the economic activity of the Commonwealth countries, and no nation can come just like a whiff into submission to some bully. You know, Donald Trump has to revisit his plan of how he wants to run America and leave a political legacy during the next 4 years.
Yes. Gautam Mukherjee, first of all, thank you for your kind words. But I wanted to ask, do you think Canadians should be worried? Justin Trudeau said that it's the biggest thing that is mattering to Canadians right now. You're saying they should be worried about being annexed by the United States, and Trump could maybe move and do that.
Well, you know, Trump is he's made a statement that might walk out of NATO and the UN. I mean, think about it. That means you Europeans are on your own. And he has also made a statement that Putin should be brought back into the G7, where he was barred by the previous administration. So things are moving fast. And I would hazard that if you were to ask the Canadians in a referendum, like the one that was conducted in Scotland, you'd be surprised at the results on how many would like to be part of the United States. There's a general benefit. Ditto Greenland. You know, the established order is naturally outraged. The ground is shifting under their feet. They're not likely to, they've never encountered diplomacy of this order, at least in this century. You know, 1776, Britain was a world power. This is 2025. America can pretty much do whatever it wants.
Dr. Amjad Ayub Mirza and Gautam Mukherjee, thank you very much for joining us. We move now to some more news updates. US-based private space firm Firefly Aerospace has made history by becoming the first commercial company to achieve a fully successful soft landing on the moon. The Blue Ghost lander touched down smoothly on the lunar surface after orbiting for 2 weeks. This is a significant step in NASA's collaboration with private space companies, marking a major milestone in commercial space exploration. Here's more in this report.
Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost lander has successfully landed on the moon, making it the first private company to achieve a fully successful soft landing. The spacecraft touched down in the Mare Crisium region, a massive lunar basin visible from Earth, after a 2-week lunar orbit. Blue Ghost carried 10 scientific and technological payloads, including NASA instruments designed to study lunar dust, radiation, and surface materials. The mission is part of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program, aimed at advancing lunar research through private partnerships. Firefly plans to follow up with 2 additional Blue Ghost missions in 2026 and 2028, both of which are expected to deliver more scientific payloads and support NASA's long-term lunar objectives. Blue Ghost launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Florida on January 15th. This milestone underscores the growing role of private companies in space exploration as NASA prepares for future manned missions to the moon. Bureau Report, NewsX World.
Now let's take a look at some news updates coming in from across South America. In December, Argentina's Justice Ministry implemented 400 layoffs at its secretariat, affecting about 50% of the staff. Many workers, including those from the National Memory Archive, were left uncertain about their job status. The ministry claims the layoff were part of a voluntary redundancy plan, citing overlapping roles. Human rights groups have urged Argentina to ensure adequate support amidst the cuts. 50 years ago, the Kuna people of Panama opened their lives to a documentary only to see it disappear when the reels were seized by a bank. For decades, the community searched until decaying footage was found in Panama's Ministry of Culture and a hidden copy surfaced in Paris. Now the Kuna reclaim their story, with elders passing down their history to a new generation. Yamandu Orsi, Uruguay's new president, took office on Saturday, marking the return of the centre-left broad front after a 5-year gap under conservative leader Luis Caquel Pou. He promises to address rising inequality and surging crime while strengthening the social safety net and revitalising the country's economy. His victory came after public frustration with Caquel Pou's government. Guyana's President Ifraan Ali condemned a Venezuelan naval vessel's incursion into disputed waters, home to ExxonMobil's offshore oil fields. Ali called it a grave concern and reaffirmed Guyana's territorial integrity, alerting international allies. Venezuela rejected the claims, with Vice President Delcy Rodriguez calling ExxonMobil's operations illegal. This incident intensifies the long-standing dispute over the Essequibo region. Brazil's Oscar-nominated actress Fernanda Torres has become this year's Carnival Muse, as the Oscars coincide with the country's biggest celebration. Torres, nominated for her role in I'm Still Here, has sparked nationwide excitement, with celebrations and tributes throughout Brazil. Revelers are sporting costumes inspired by her, and her nomination has overshadowed traditional carnival festivities. The PKK has declared a ceasefire following Abdullah Öcalan's call for disarmament and peace, urging Turkey to create democratic conditions. While Erdogan sees potential for peace, he warns military actions will continue if the ceasefire fails. With ongoing PKK attacks inside Turkey, here is a report.
Kurdish militants of the Kurdistan Workers' Party declared a ceasefire on Saturday, following a call from their imprisoned leader Abdullah Öcalan for disarmament. This move could significantly impact President Erdogan's government, with Öcalan urging peace and a democratic society. Erdogan, however, warned that Turkey would maintain military readiness if the ceasefire fails, stating that operations would continue until the last terrorist is eliminated. The PKK emphasized the need for democratic and legal conditions to ensure success, calling for Öcalan's release to lead the disarmament process. This ceasefire marks a breakthrough in the conflict, but it is uncertain whether it will lead to a lasting resolution. Erdogan sees Öcalan's call as a potential historic step toward peace, and political meetings are planned to clarify the next steps.
Bundan sonra da nefret dili, kavga ve gerilim yerine karşılıklı saygıyı, hoşgörüyü ve diyaloğu gözetmeye devam edeceğiz. Fakat uzattığımız elin havada bırakılması veya ısırılması halinde de demir yumruğumuzu daima.
Despite the ceasefire, Turkey insists that all Kurdish groups linked to the PKK across the region must disband, and isolated attacks by the PKK continue inside Turkey, while Kurdish fighters in Syria remain unaffected by the ceasefire. Bureau Report, NewsX World.
Now let's take a look at some updates coming in from across the Indo-Pacific region. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked US President Donald Trump on Sunday for sending munitions. They had previously been held up by the Biden administration. Netanyahu stated that these tools will assist Israel in finishing the job against Iran's terror axis. He also said in a video statement in English that Donald Trump is the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. According to reports, China is likely to target American agricultural exports as it prepares countermeasures against US import tariffs that will take effect on March the 4th. The new tariffs include an additional 10% duty on Chinese goods due to fentanyl-related concerns. China is considering both tariff and non-tariff measures, with products such as soybeans, beef, and pork potentially on the list. The head of Myanmar's military government, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, arrived in Russia on Monday for an official visit. He is set to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin and other high-ranking officials to discuss bilateral ties. This marks Min Aung Hlaing's fourth visit to Russia since seizing power. Myanmar and Russia have previously conducted joint military drills and signed a nuclear development pact. Manila's ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, confirmed on Monday that the United States and Philippines have reaffirmed their alliance. He asserted the importance of their partnership and shared interests in the Indo-Pacific region. He also stated that all countries need to be ready to beef up their own defense and ensure their economic security. Days after North Korea's recent test launch of cruise missiles, a U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Carl Vinson, arrived in South Korea on Sunday as a show of force. This is the first U.S. aircraft carrier to travel to South Korea since June. The deployment aims to display a strong US-South Korea military alliance and improve operations between the two nations' forces. And that is all we have time for. We will be back with more international news updates.